Good morning, my Patreon friends. Get yourself a cup of coffee. I'm at the cabin having coffee with you guys. Wanting to invite you in. The sun is coming around and getting in my face. But it was 5 degrees out there this morning. But last week I had a little bit of a rant video and I had a good time. So I'm going to do another one. And this one has a little funny story tied in with it. I did release some of the funny story on my regular YouTube channel. But I'm going to get in more depth here on Patreon because of the foolishness of what I'm going to tell you. I don't know. I don't think you're going to be able to see me much, and the sun is really in my face. I'm going to stay there, I guess. But anyways, you know, I've been doing these videos for a long time, and one of the reasons I started this channel was to share knowledge. Share knowledge of, you know, everything that I've learned here in the state of Maine. And my hunting and all that. Not to say that I know it all, because I'm far from knowing it all, and I learn every day. But one of the things that really bugs me, and that's why if you see in my openings, I always, about, you know, skills and stuff like that in my very first page you see on all my videos, is because of false knowledge about being a woodsman or living off the land and all of that. Well, that sun driving me nuts. I'll be right back. I'm going to see if I can fix that a little bit. Yeah, that's better. I pulled the curtain over. That'll work for a little while. But anyways, I got a funny story, and the reason I'm going to rant a little bit is because I'm going to bash some other YouTube channels right now. Not by name. But one of the reasons I got into I wanted to share my story was all the crap that's on YouTube. As far as, you know, there's some good videos, and there's some people that really know what they're doing and talking about. But when you get into like the bushcraft side of things, there is so much junk knowledge being pushed by people with no experience at all whatsoever. And I'm going to tie this in with the story I'm going to tell you right now. I had a friend over yesterday for coffee. He had coffee here. We sat around the campfire for probably an hour and a half, and having coffee. And he was telling me about some new people that moved in on the end of his road, which is about 3 miles away. Young people, they moved up here from away, and they're going to live out in the woods. They're going to build a shelter, and they're going to stay the winter, and they're just going to live off the land and be happy, happy, happy. Well, what they did, and I know from watching other YouTube videos, what people have been, I built a shelter for under $20 out of plastic. They get a bunch of sticks together, and they wrap the plastic, and they wrap the sticks in clear plastic, and boom, they got a shelter for under $20. Well, that's what they did. They came up here. Now, I don't know if you know what strapping is, but they came up here, they bought some strapping from the lumber yard, and they got themselves a roll of clear plastic, I guess, and then they went to building these shelters out of strapping on their piece of property. Because they're gonna spend the winter. They got no money, they got no food, they got really no plan outside of that. So to me, I don't know them personally, but that smacks dab in these YouTube videos that you can go live off the land in a plastic shelter and you're gonna do just fine. So anyways, a little time goes by, and you know they're gonna. What their plan is, they're gonna forage their food out of the woods. Again, smack dab out of YouTube. That's crap. You're not going to come into the Maine forest and forage a living out of the woods. Period. We have edible foods here, but they're in the summertime. And if you don't start putting that stuff away in the very early spring until the snow flies, there's no food here in the wintertime. You are going to be a meat eater, period, in Northern Maine in the wintertime. Unless you can, there is that layer of bark between the outside bark and the tree. The Indians used to eat that. That was called starvation food. When you got to peeling a tree and eating that inner bark, that's because you're in starvation mode. It's not because it's a very good thing to eat, and that's how we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it because we're gonna eat that bark. You're not gonna come up here and forage. So that's why this is coming straight out of a YouTube video. It has to, because how could people be so stupid to come up here and think that they're gonna forage out of the Maine forest? And to build a plastic shelter and think that's going to do it too. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. So anyways, getting along in this story, it wasn't too long down the road that they were knocking on other people's doors. That's how I know this story. They're knocking on 3 miles away, and they're offering to do work for money because they don't have any money, so they're offering to do work for money. Well, the 2 doors that they knocked on that I know of were the cabins that I built 10 years ago. Them guys are living there now full time. So they're more than comfortable. Both are in retirement age. So there's not a whole lot of projects to be done at them places. It's a done deal. So they didn't find any work that they could work for money. So a little further down the road, and now they're knocking on doors again, and they're willing to work for food. So I guess the foraging is not going very well at this point. Annie, I got a cookie I'm going to give the dog. Annie, come get it. Come on. Here, Annie. So anyways, they're willing to work for food. Again, it doesn't change the scenario. The work is done. Unless you've got a pile of firewood to put up or something like that. But by following these YouTube videos, about teaching them how to go out and build a plastic shelter, teaching them how to go out and forage off the land, and giving them the false hope that that's something that is doable, it's not. So that's why I'm kind of bashing these other channels, which normally I don't do. But after hearing that story about these guys coming up here and doing that, what are you thinking? Number one, what are you thinking? And number two, why are you thinking that some guy that goes out in a state park and does a video about living in the woods can do to help you? You can't. When you build a shelter in Maine, you need to build a shelter. You guys have watched me this summer build the Beaver Creek Deer Camp over there. That's a shelter. It's a survival shelter. It's not roomy. It's not big. It is a survival shelter. It is 8 feet by 12 feet with a nice wood stove in it. I will have a little kitchen in it. I've got a great place to sleep. I got a great place to hang my hat up at night so I can be warm, dry. If I had to, I could live there for a month and be comfortable. I have food in buckets. I have a rifle. I have traps. So that's what I mean by false hope. If you're not going into the woods and setting up a shelter like that, or these videos on YouTube aren't teaching to go out in the woods and set up a shelter like that, it's for naught. It's just garbage. Because a lean-to shelter, a stick-built shelter, they don't last. They're not warm. They're not comfortable. And you will not see me doing a video on my channel about building a survival shelter. Period. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in it. I have done some videos on why and how. I won't get into it here this morning, but there's ways to survive in the woods without spending all that time, energy, and sweat building a shelter that's not going to keep you warm. You need to, in my world, you need to put time and effort into building a big bonfire that's going to sustain you from night to night. If it'll last until morning, and some kind of, like, if you can put something behind you, a big blowdown, a big rock, a big tree, some kind of shelter that will help reflect the heat back onto you. And I've always got a small tarp with me. I put that behind me, maybe a little bit over me, but more around me, so that when the heat from the fire comes in, it gets captured and bathes me in that heat. That's the stuff that these YouTube videos need to be teaching. Not this crap about building a shelter that takes all day long. A lean-to shelter is not a warm place to sleep. Trust me. And that's why I'm bashing these other channels. Because they give people like these foragers, we'll call them foragers, it gives these people like these foragers false hope that they can go in the woods, succeed with nothing, and then be knocking on doors a little while later willing to work for food. They're not there now. They're gone. They've gone back to where they came from. They came in, they built 2 plastic shelters. They up here you can rent a shed to buy. So they bought a shed, they were renting it. That was between the 2 shelters. They had no firewood. They were asking questions from the locals on how to cut firewood, what firewood was good for the winter because they were going to last. So they came up here with no knowledge, no skills, no money, no nothing except for strapping and a roll of plastic, and think that they were going to survive in the Maine woods. That's why this video is a rant this morning, and that's why I am knocking these other channels that give people false hope. Learn your skills before you come, and figure it out before you get here, because once you get here, that's when the boots hit the pavement, that's when the boots hit the ground, and you're either going to succeed or you're going to make it. One of the two. But 9 times out of 10, if you come up here unprepared with no skills at all, and with that false hope that's driven into you from some of these YouTube channels that are made from people that sit on the couch, run out in the backyard, do a video, and then run back in. You're not going to make it. So, thanks a lot for coming along, you guys. Hope you're all having a good week. Let me know in the comments if you don't like these rant videos. I'm kind of unplugged on some of these. I want to do stuff here on the YouTube, on the Patreon channel that's maybe a little bit more deeper in my thought process into what I think. So anyways, I'll see you next week. Thank you for being a part of the Patreon channel. I really appreciate it, because it's a lot of work to do both. And boy, I think we're up to like $60 a month coming in now on the Patreon channel. It doesn't sound like much, but I save it and then I put it towards a piece of equipment or gear or camera stuff. So it's really helping to push East Grand Woodsman down the road. Can't thank you guys enough. So I'll see you next week.